This is a historic day for this university and for our community, I think, and I believe for Sentry as well. We're here to celebrate the installation of the Sentry Insurance Chair in Business Analytics. But it's really much more than that. We're here to celebrate the partnership that has existed between Sentry and the university for decades, literally decades. And that partnership has grown and evolved and will continue to do so, I'm sure, in the years to come. And as I was thinking about this afternoon, and I was thinking about this partnership, Pete, I was struck by how closely it parallels with our strategic plan here at the university. A plan that we developed now more than 5 years ago that we refer to as a partnership for thriving communities. And it has 4 cornerstones to it: vibrant communities, and healthy communities, and prosperous communities, and sustainable communities. And when we do things here at the university, we want them to hit on at least one of those 4 cornerstones. It's good if it can be 2, and we're really pleased when it can be 3 of those 4 elements. But this initiative hits all 4, and that doesn't happen very often. And this just didn't happen by itself. This was the result of a lot of hard work by dedicated individuals. And so I want to begin by recognizing some of those individuals. First, our Provost Greg Summers and Dean Marty Lloyd from the College of Professional Studies, and Dean Eric Yonke from the College of Letters and Science, and all the faculty and staff in those colleges and in advancement that have worked tirelessly to make this possible. And they did it in record speed. I'll talk more about that in a minute. The fact that you got it done in the time that you did is just amazing. But I want to single out 2 faculty members in particular. Tim Krause from the Chair of Computing and New Media Technology, and Lena Martisi from Business and Economics. She subsequently left the university, but I understand she's coming back to the university. We think that's really good news, really good news. But Lena and Tim were the ones who really sat down and put pen to paper. Can you say pen to paper anymore?
Yes.
I still use a pen, but I suspect they probably use computers. But they were the ones that really knocked it out. And I also just want to lift up for a minute Dean Chris Searle, because his heart was in this. We lost Chris in an untimely fashion back in May. And this campus was just stunned at that loss. But he was a strong supporter of this initiative. And I didn't want us to get past today without remembering Chris. But I also want to lift up our partners at Sentry Insurance. Wow. Because you inspired us, you engaged us, and you guided us through this process. And when we thought, how can we possibly get this done in the time allowed, you said, it's doable. We can do this. And it was because of that encouragement and that guidance. And it's really important for the university to hear from industry what's needed out there. Now, our faculty are very astute, and many of them have industry experience, but they're not in it every day, day in and day out. So hearing from our partners in the community will keep us current, it will keep us aimed at the future, and that's really what we need to do. And so just to mention a few from Sentry that have really had a major role to play in all of this: Jim Weischer, Jenny Petruska, Ken Erler, Jim Sitline, Jim Frank, and Sean Nim. When you put that team together with the university team, my goodness, there wasn't anything we couldn't get accomplished, and they proved that quite clearly. And of course, I've saved the last for this reason, and it's Pete McCartman, my good friend. Wow, Pete. Most of you don't know this, but Pete and I literally walked this campus, one end to the other, talking about this partnership. At that stage, it wasn't about the partnership of data analytics, because we weren't there yet. But it was talking about how Sentry and the university can continue to grow the partnership that we've had all these years. And we talked about what would be needed for the community. We talked about what would be helpful to Sentry. We talked about how the university could be moved along. And those conversations took different paths over a course of several months. And as the environment changed during those discussions, Pete was very flexible about how the path might need to change given what was happening in our state and in our nation. And so we ended up in a place quite different than where we started. But boy, we sure got a great result as a result of that. So Pete, I just want you to know that in all my years in higher education, and particularly since I've come to Wisconsin, and I'm now in my 8th year here, I've never worked with a stronger partner, a more visionary partner, a more company and leadership of that company that's so tuned in to what is needed and what we need to get accomplished, not only here at the university, but in our economy, in our community, in our workplace. It's been a pleasure to work with you on this, and we are grateful. I'm just without words to say how grateful we are for what you've done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, Pete and I soon realized, though, that we needed help. And so we had an idea, maybe, but we quickly handed that off to the team that I've already described. And they set about doing the real work. And they looked at the needs of the region, and the needs of our state, and beyond. And they looked at what would serve Sentry, they looked at what would serve the community, and they looked at what would serve the university. And they began with thinking about a certificate program and a Center for Data Analytics, but it wasn't long. And particularly this piece, I understand, was led by our Sentry side of the team. Let's think bigger. Let's think about how to grow this. Let's think about bolder ideas. And so you did. And you started talking about a major that would cross college lines at the university. That's pretty rare in and of itself. And you started talking about, and let's get this done by next academic year. Oh my gosh, that made the provost break out in cold sweat. I saw him. I tell you, But you did it. You did it. You started talking about 2 endowed chairs, and talking about business analytics and computational analytics. In a minute, Pete's going to explain in great detail the difference of those two. I'm looking forward to that explanation, Pete. And the timeline, as I've already said, was monumental. Because we had to get approval, both locally on campus, to do this. Because things work a little differently at a university than they do in business. And then there was the state level approval that had to be had. So typically that takes much longer. And that's not unique to this university, and that's not unique to Wisconsin. That's kind of how the academy in this country operates and has for some 200 years. But we had to seek those approvals, and then we had to establish a curriculum. That takes a little time. And we had to hire faculty, had to recruit students, all by fall semester. And guess what? You did it. Folks in this room did it. And now Tim tells me we have, is it 35?
Correct.
35 majors. This is the first semester we've offered the program. And already 35 majors. I don't know if you have any way of judging that number. But for a brand new major, that's phenomenal. So, and that's way above where we thought it would be. So this has been a big success from the very get-go. Well, what does all this mean? I think it means, in perpetuity, that we are creating opportunities for generations of students. I think it means that we will be able to teach courses that we haven't been able to offer in the past. It means that we will have capability and the capacity to meet industry needs. It means that we will now have 2 industry-driven and academically qualified professors who will prepare our brightest students for careers at Sentry Insurance and the business world, and the businesses around the world. I think it means that Sentry Insurance will forever have a distinguished imprint on this university. Something that makes me extremely proud to be able to say. So Pete, I want to invite you up, and as you come up, offer a few words. I just again want to say from the bottom of my heart how much we appreciate you and the company you represent. Thank you very much. Pete Perkins, CEO.
Thank you, Marty. Those are stunning words. Oh, my goodness, I'm affected by them. Wow. So it's a pleasure to be here today and speak on behalf of Sentry Insurance and the management team and the good folks at Sentry that worked with the university team to create the analytics program. We're very proud of all aspects of our partnership with the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, and there are great things ahead of us, but I don't know how we'll top this. We'll work on it, Bernie, but I don't know how we're going to top this. We'll enjoy this one for a little while. So really good to be here. We view this decision to invest in the data analytics program as more than an investment in the university itself, and certainly more than an investment in Sentry's mission to assure that we have a pipeline of talent coming into Sentry in a much needed skill area, but rather an investment in Central Wisconsin's future as a whole, and including the future of the state of Wisconsin itself. And we're very proud of that. The creation of this program is as much credit as Bernie has given to myself at Sentry. Things always start with a basic question that Bernie asked Sentry, and one day he asked Jim Weishon, my partner, and myself, and Jim's here today. And Bernie's question was, what is it that Sentry needs from a talent standpoint as it plans its workforce of tomorrow? Jim and my response was simple, because we'd been talking about this. And the answer to Bernie's question was, we need people who are able to take the abundance of data that's now available and utilize the technology that's becoming available of looking at this data, but to find the talent that can pull it all together in a way that gives Sentry a competitive edge. We knew, of course, that many businesses in the area and many enterprises in Central Wisconsin would likely say that very thing. It's true of business in general and a lot of aspects of enterprise of all kind. So we went to work with Tim Krause, Marty Loy, and others, and as Bernie says, made it happen. With respect to Professor Rodriguez, everything I hear, Professor, is that you're a terrific guy to work with, and that you embrace businesses in the area, and that you love creating. And I can imagine how much fun it must be for everyone involved in the creation of this program to start with a blank piece of paper and think about how to leapfrog it over other programs around the country through the creativity that the talent that both Sentry and the university, and now Professor Eduardo Rodriguez, bring to the table. On behalf of a few specific people here, in addition to Jim Weishon and myself, Jim Stitzline, Sean Nim, Jim Frank, and others at Sentry, I cannot tell you how excited we are. And as I mentioned, as great as this is, there's going to be all kinds of great things in our future together. So thank you for having us, and this is indeed a great day. Thank you.
Well, now for the main attraction. It is my pleasure to introduce, for the first time, Sentry Insurance Endowed Chair in Business Analytics, Professor Eduardo Rodriguez. Welcome to the podium.
Okay. Many things to say that we share. Basically, I have to say that I am very, very happy to be here and to have this opportunity. Because, as you mentioned, you know that I am a person trying to start many things from scratch. And in this case, this is the project that is the most important for me in my life. Thank you very much for your kind introduction, and thanks a lot for having in me the opportunity of giving me the opportunity to work at the university. Basically, something that I want to share with you is my view of the program and how we are going to work in the next months. Because probably it's the most important part for everyone to know what are the things that we are right now doing and what are the things that we would like to do in the future. I have to say that I have a lot of points in terms of the feelings related to this position. I have to say that in my case, different thoughts are coming to my mind. One of the most important is the inspiration and the way that this program is representing for me as a person. I have two sons. They are these days my professors. They are the guys telling me what to do in many things to keep me young, to keep me updated. They are, as probably some of you know, working in their doctoral degrees. And something that is happening is that I have two sons with totally opposed view of the life. One is pure mathematician and the other is a philosopher. And I am in the middle. That means these type of things motivate a lot how the diversity in terms of thinking is so special for the experience that we need to share in programs like this. My wife, that is always with me, she left, for example, her dream job in Ottawa as diabetes educator for coming with me here and to take this great opportunity. Thank you very much, Pete, for giving this great opportunity to the university. Thank you, Bernie, for giving us, and Marty, and Gary, and all of you for being here with me in this moment. And thank you for having me as a person that can lead this type of situations that we are going to show in a few minutes. Basically, I have a presentation that is with a concept of the vision of the community based on analytics. That means I am not going to show you theory about analytics. I am going to show you how analytics can be part of the development of our community and how we are going to work together in order to improve many of the services and many of the possibilities that we have in terms of the society right now. Basically, the agenda that I have for today is just to give you some concepts and facts related to the programs that we have right now around the world and what is happening with analytics in the US. Something that is related to the way that we need to define what do we want, what do we need to avoid because in many cases, all of us, we know, sometimes it's easy to know what do we need, but sometimes we don't know what are the traps in the journey to get what we want. This is something that is very important. The other thing is, what are the elements of the plan for the analytics program in the short term and the medium term? What are we doing? Because of course, in these 2.5 months, we have been doing many things with team and all of us. And the other thing is, what are the things that we need? This morning, for example, I had a very fantastic meeting with people in the advisory council for the business school. And something that was fantastic for me was the experience of having a group of people asking me for courses, not for the students that were regular students of 20 years old. It was for people that are mature and they want to learn about analytics because they need to have the same kind of language and the same capacity to speak with people that are coming with the new generations and the new knowledge. And that is a correct path to follow in the next years. Okay, in terms of the introduction and about me, I don't want to share with you my CV. I don't want to share with you what are my data in terms of specific elements of the profile. Why? Because you can go to LinkedIn, you can find it, you can go in many places and you can find it. I will share with you is what you cannot see and probably you have not perceived yet from myself. The first thing is related to the principles that are guiding me and having me here. I selected 4 because these 4 principles are my personal ones, but they are the philosophy that are going to be behind everything that I am going to do in the program. The first thing is I have to put check marks in my process and in my life, in my journey. And this is one of the most important ones because I have been in many different positions, different roles, and something that I need to do is the work in this area. The other thing is related to the concept of meaning. Probably you have experienced at the different ages what the meaning of life is and asking you what is at the time that you are the real value of what you are doing. And I quote something from Viktor Frankl that is related to the search of meaning. Why? Because I am feeling exactly what he felt when he was in the concentration camps. In terms of the way that people need to understand that an abnormal reaction to an abnormal situation is a normal behavior. And the other point, it is not freedom from conditions, but it is freedom to take a stand toward the conditions. And that is exactly what we need to do every day. And to promote and to develop a new program is exactly to go against something that is potentially a fashion, but it's a very important commitment to the society. The other thing is that always I am trying to feed my mind and my life in terms of what we are learning and reading. And I was very influenced by the hardest book of the mathematician apology, because this created in me a lot of interest in terms of the science and in terms of mathematics. And finally, the point of creation of intelligent organizations. I am totally convinced that the future of our organizations is the mix of managing knowledge, management risk, and the learning systems. But not the learning systems from the point of view of the education institutions. It's the learning systems related to the 3 components: machine learning, statistical learning, and organizational learning. They have to be together in order to produce results and to add value in our organization. Something that you need to know is that part of my journey in this project is that I started as translator. Why? Because my original degree is in mathematics. But when I finished mathematics, something that happened is, hey, what I am going to do? It's a big question because no more opportunities. The opportunity could be to be an actuary. And I said, no, I need to learn what is the way to go and to work in a company. That means I did my MBA. I started my life in different positions, even in marketing, but always with some specific task. And today, the task that I used to have is called translator, because I was with the skill that I could work directly with very technical people and commercial people. And I continue growing in that kind of a skill to try to organize people and to move in the same direction. Because one of the most difficult things that we do is always in analytics to try to put the ideas in order and to go and to build our models and outcomes in the direction that we need. Something that I have as well is, as you probably notice, the multicultural view and experiences. Something that is interesting, and this is just at random. I was born in Latin America. And one day, given the work that I continue having with my mathematics, I decided to go again to study a master in mathematics. And with a specific concentration in actuarial mathematics, and my final work was in risk classification. But it was in Canada, and I decided to live in Canada. But later, something that happened is I wanted something more general. That means I went to operations research, specific knowledge management, and I live with the British society. Many years later, something happened, and I am totally embedded in the Chinese culture because my wife is a wonderful Chinese lady. That means it's a Latin American guy with some type of relatives that the only way to communicate with me is with the body language. Okay, what is the vision? The vision is basically we need to have a program that has to be in the top of the programs in this field. For that, we need to understand many things. This is the way that we have had paths or the steps in the analytics process. What happened? This is not new. I started with all these analytics things many years ago. The only difference between what I had at that time and today is that at that time we had a very complicated life with our computational capacity. It was extremely complex to have a program to do something because, as you probably, some of you remember, we had to create our code, batch, process, and very long time waiting for the results, and then different things. Another thing is the data was proprietary and was very difficult to deal with. These days, what we have is very good computational capacity, a lot of data, but something that is happening is we are creating a lot of models, but what we don't have right now is talent. I use very often the analogy that in many cases, I have discovered that many people are in the age of VisiCalc, but using Excel 2016 that is millions of times more powerful than VisiCalc. That means many of the things that we have to do is to move people from here to this level in order to do more what we have. And that is the challenge. And that is the challenge with analytics. And something that I have been working is Beyond Analytics. Beyond Analytics is mathematical management. I wrote one of the books, it's not here, but you can see in the triangle in one of the posters something about that. That is something that will be very interesting. What is at the end what we are looking with our students? Of course, they need to have analytics knowledge. But something that is extremely important is that they are data scientists. They are people with the most important engine that we have as scientists, curiosity. The other thing is creativity. And the last one is very important, is we need to create in all of these new minds the character of intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs. Why? Because they need to do things and to embed the solutions in the business processes and to create action. Because we cannot work only with beautiful things that are in the theory and we are not creating changes and adding value in the organization. Analytics makes sense when it is possible to create and sustain intelligent organizations. Influence in the sense of having the capacity to adapt organizations to continuous changes. What is happening? People say, oh, we have a lot of issues because every time we have crisis. That is exactly what is our work. Our work is to be smarter. And it's smarter in the sense of adaptation. It's not smarter in the best way of creating the most complicated algorithm. It's in the capacity that we are using our resources. And one of the resources that we have now is data and computational capacity, and we need to improve our talent in order to produce that kind of capacity of dealing with risk and knowledge. And something that is very important is to avoid confusion and half-truths. Most of the cases in organizations, in everything that I have been working in my research, is related to the mystery of the half-truths. Why? Because people don't want to listen to others who are showing, based on evidence, something that is not in the same way that they are thinking. And that is one of the big challenges that we have. And that is extremely important, because these students that we are creating, developing in the organization, here for the organizations, will be all of the students for moving in the direction that is providing value to the organization. And I took this quote that is great from Dr. Kim, that is the president of the World Bank, and it was very fresh, October 23. That means using analytics to something that is regular economics. What is? There is a linear relationship between improvement in human capital and economic growth. My goodness, and the result right now is state by state in the United States, and they are going down to the county level. And that is the reason that I selected the name of this presentation, Analytics as a Pillar of Development in our region. Because this is with evidence. And this is something that we need to work a lot. Human capital. What kind of human capital? People in analytics are going to work in that. The second, excuse me, the other point is that we have here a very big gap of supply and demand in the market. I will show you in 1 second the graph. Something that you can see here is that we have worldwide 566 programs in analytics in different types, according to Katie Nuggets. And only here in our country is 438. Of course, we have face-to-face, online, blended, academic degree, certificates. And in forms, that is the Operations Research Society, we have 131. That means probably the most accurate is the informed ones. But something that is happening is that they are producing a lot of students. And I put here some realities. Data scientists are having issues with the real experience at work. For instance, some type of jobs are just reporting. That means we need to manage the expectations as well. We need to manage what is the capacity of working for the students. They are having problems with managing the new generations. These new generations of data scientists are millennials, and millennials are people that if they don't have challenges, they are not going to work happy. And following the curiosity is something that we need to continue, and in terms of
many of the challenges around this group. And the other thing is in terms of the performance evaluation. Because in many cases, we are trying to evaluate everyone in the same way. But something that probably we need to analyze is how we are going to evaluate tennis players, not as boxers. Because this is something totally different. This is the gap. Look, this is thousands. We have in 2014 something that was the supply. In the next 10 years, we are going to have something around 314,000 people. But in 2024, the idea is that we are going to have, these are new, in total we are going to have around 483 people. This is the estimation. But the most interesting is the forecast. The low level of the forecast in terms of the market is 403,000 in terms of the needs or the jobs that are going to be related to analytics. But the highest one is 736,000. This means easily we are going to have 250,000 jobs not filled with people in analytics. And that is something that is very scary, because this will change a lot of the way that we need to work. What is that related to the reality of us? The first thing is, what do we want? First, to convert analytics into a source of innovation and disruption and development. Develop a solid analytics learning system, as I mentioned before. Learning, not only machine learning, not only statistical learning, is something related to business learning. Something that we need is to support the success of the students, graduates, to be part of the value added in the change of the organization. To engage other organizations to work with us, more and more interesting problems to solve, and to have a very good integration and collaboration in terms of our research with the problems that we have in our community. One of the interesting things that we have in analytics is that analytics is not anymore what we have in our mind always. Most of the organizations, we have an organizational chart that is vertical. And we need to prepare ourselves for people that can work with actuaries, can work with people in marketing, and can work with people in human resources. One of the analytic think tank guests that we are going to have shortly is one of the alumni from here working in Harvard, Bartik got the contact, is working in analytics in human resources. That means something that we need to understand is that this is another challenge. It's a challenge of having people who are with a training not to work with only one type of problem. They can work with the same theory, with the same conceptualization through the organization, across the organization. Another thing is we need to support our areas. And what is the invitation right now? The invitation is, and we have been working and talking with team, is how we are going to organize some of the points related to the solution of the capstone. For example, how people can gather data related to analytics in agriculture, insurance, financials, healthcare, retail, manufacturing, something that is related to the industries. Because that is something that is a very important thing. Right now, we started with some of the data that is available, some data that is coming from open sources. And another thing is that we need to understand that we are in the process of moving from data to action, but at the same time, moving from Internet of Things to analytics of things. And today, in the meeting in the morning, when people said that we need to talk the same kind of language, it's very interesting is because of this. Because you are going to Best Buy and you already find the Google thing that is for Internet of Things in your home. And something that is happening is that people believe that Internet of Things is just the connection. No, we need is to create analytics of things. What happening with this data that we are going, and to protect our homes, because a hacker can come and take everything our network and to put our home out of power. Another thing is to change from the concept of BI to strategic intelligence, and another confusion that there is to move from big data to big data analytics. Because big data is an information system problem. The problem is what they are going to do with all this data that I have available. In many cases, garbage. Okay. What do we need to avoid? That means we want something. But the most important is to avoid this, feeling frustrated. It's essential that we have some type of relationships with the students in the organization. That means people need more challenges. Something that we need to avoid is considering analytics as a fashion. This has been for many years. This has been for many years, and this means that we have the opportunity to improve. But be careful. In only Python, that some of you probably have heard about the language, we have more than 40,000 algorithms to work. That means the complexity right now is not the complexity when I started many years ago in this field. The complexity at that time was how to create an algorithm. No, now the problem is how to select the algorithms in 40,000 options. That means it's totally different. Because at one moment, I remember in some international conference, I say, please don't create more algorithms, don't create more solutions. We need is to work with the things that we have right now. Because the complexity is huge. And the students are asking me, oh, professor, what is the best algorithm to use? What is the best graph that we can do? And guess what? This is something that is only learned by the practice. And that is something that takes time. Another thing is to consider people in analytics as geeks and wizards, or as isolated discipline, or a substitute of other very important components of the value chain in the organization. It's not a substitution. That means we cannot substitute people who are experts in other areas. It's complementing and supporting people in other areas. Because one of the most important principles in analytics is the use of the knowledge domain. Because how can you interpret the outcome of the models if you cannot contextualize them? These are interesting things, but given the time, I will not go to that. But think about one at least. These are things in our real life. If you have social media and you have data coming, it's very, very complicated if people are sharing comments like having a good restaurant but people commenting that it's full of customers. What would happen with the poor restaurant? Nobody would go there. Or what is happening when you are on the car and you have a very big traffic jam and people say, oh, in that direction the prediction is that they are going to be cleared in these conditions. Everyone is going there and the jam will be there. That means we have a lot of things that we need to manage these days with data. Follow a systematic set of steps. That means this is the plan short term. Basically, to be short with this, is we have some activities in the short term. But what I want to leave you in your mind is the way that I structure a plan. The way to structure a plan is based on the knowledge management processes. That means how people acquire or create knowledge, analytics knowledge. You will find in my new 2 books some descriptions about that. You have the analytics knowledge creation where we need to work in what? In the new courses, in the alignment of the content, identify projects for the students, and the technology to use. We need to organize something about the structure of the capstone and something related to the community and organization needs. And this is fantastic. Why? Because it's the way to be clearer in what we need in knowledge creation. But what could happen if the knowledge is there? You need to store the knowledge. And you need to give access to others. That means this is something that we need to do. We need to create our archives. And to give access to the data, give access to the reports. Something that we need is to transfer knowledge. Why? Because we need a lot of students with different types of experiences, professors with different types of experiences. And I will show you in seconds something that we are doing, and you will see why this structure is very important. The other thing is the way of the knowledge application. How we are going to solve some type of problems. More problems you bring to us, much better the results will be. Why? Because people will have the challenges that we are looking for our students. And this is, and I will show you in seconds that. What is the medium term? And I summarize this. Train tennis players with physical strength of a boxer and with the mind of chess players. And it's a huge challenge. That means we have the same structure in terms of analytics knowledge creation. We needed to create different content. For example, at the end of 2015, the goal that I have is at the end, we are going to have a complete 2005 course with the content. We are working in the content of marketing analytics, in the content of decision making and analytics, and the first candidate to have the complete book is data visualization. And the reason is we don't have very good books. There are books oriented in some directions but not oriented in the combination of the practice and the theoretical thing. And we need to mix this because when the students are going to work, they cannot be only on the abstract world. They need to understand how they are going to use the tools in the reality. And that is something that we are working right now, and this is the first candidate. The other thing in terms of the knowledge storage and access, this is very interesting. I already started the analytic think tank. The analytic think tank, and I need the participation of everyone, is to bring people across the country that who are experts and to share with us their own experience. The first one that I brought was a person from Microsoft, a former student that I have, but is one of the managers in Azure, working directly with what? With data scientists. And he shared his experience as manager of data scientists and what are the things that this person discovered after years of working with this people in Microsoft. The next one, that is December the 4th, will be for students to understand more about artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence here, the other day went to my office and said, Eduardo, this is a student with a very interesting question. Okay, I will talk with him. The question was very simple. I am studying a major, but I am very scary because the machines can't replace me. And I want to share my major to analytics because probably I can do something different in the analytics field. That is something that is very interesting, and we need to put our professors, our students, our professionals to talk together in the same place. That means the analytic think tank is the space for discussing these type of issues and to know where to go. The other thing is we need to connect more our other courses and other group of people. For example, we are going to create the MBA, and something that would be a very nice differentiator is the MBA with the stream in analytics, because many of the professionals, they already have a good background, and probably with some courses they will work very well doing in analytics. And the dream that I have is to create the WISE Lab. The WISE Lab is the Wisconsin Intelligent and Strategic Enterprise Lab. What is that? Is that we need to concentrate data, we need to concentrate algorithms, we need to concentrate a lot of knowledge on the students to work in the real life with companies around us. And the next point is, what are we doing? I will give you examples. The first thing is to create the analytics community. I have to push the students, and the students are helping me as well to visit them every 2 weeks on Wednesdays to see what are the needs that they have, and in the club of analytics, what are they doing. We need already some are in the Data University Network. We need to work more with the operations of the Research Society and to start with the groups in the Beta Gamma Sigma that by the way the beta gamma sigma started in advance. Something that I mentioned, the book for data visualization, something in terms of the capstones. I am very happy right now. 2 students already with the capstones in a very nice topics. One of these is around the opioid epidemic. Oh my goodness, when this person said, Eduardo, I want to study data about that, how can I do it? It's fantastic. Why? Because this is a real problem that we have in our society. My responsibility is to try to help to gather the data. What is the other example? Is that we have a first research assistant in analytics. Because right now I am trying to find, oh look, this is a student in mathematics. It could be a student in analytics. Oh, look, this student is interested. But something that I discovered is that one student was interested in the smart cities. And at the same time, this is important. I was talking a few minutes with the mayor, and I told him, hey, this is something that we have right now, and probably you are interested in smart cities. Typical problem. Another thing is, and this was related to the meeting today, but this is something that was in the agenda, is to create analytics for managers. Because if the communication gap is too big, students will be frustrated. And the managers will be frustrated. Because they don't have it. What is this? Is this, for example, we can start with short video clips, with the short courses, and not to use a jargon, because another problem that we have is with the system that I mentioned, the learning system, is that when we have new theories, we create a jargon that is not possible to see in terms of different types of science. And you call inference, and another way you call in another, with another word. Another thing is we are creating the repositories. We are starting the connection of students, networks, and communities of practice. Something that I mentioned about the think tank. Something related to the high-tech community. For example, in one of my classes, I discovered the other day people creating the first data center that we have in this region. And I am teaching principles of data, just from the theory and with very simple tables to show things. Oh my goodness, this is perfect. I brought the guy, the chief information officer in that organization, to explain what they are doing and to explain what the really concept of having a data center is. Another thing related to the practice. One day, Tim sent an email, hey, there is a professor in a paper chemical department that they are looking for solving a problem in a paper mill here. Oh, fantastic. That is something that is moving. It's moving. That is great because this is a real problem. It's a problem of classification. Very interesting situation. Okay, what do we need? We need collaboration. A very important collaboration across the organizations, across the university with different departments to bring more of our students. For example, the students in different areas can be interested in analytics, and we will be very happy with that, to develop the concept of multidisciplinary teams, something in terms of the participation in different events, and something that is this balance. We need people who requires simultaneously abstraction and concretion of the concept, techniques, and methods. And that is something that is relatively complex to have, but it's possible if we start including these principles in our process. Basically, it's because this comment, what they said here is in the book of the hard facts and dangerous hard truths, is that in many cases, what we are publishing and we are doing with our journals, many of the managers, they are not reading. I have to say that to read journals and to read, in many cases, our technical papers is not very nice. And something that we need to do is to create the environment for developing other things. My final remarks, I am so happy to have here with this opportunity, because this is creating in me the real concept of the meaning. But what is the real concept of the meaning at the end? Is this that is coming from the mathematician apology in 1940 from Hardy. For some of you that don't remember, Hardy was one of the most important British mathematicians that we had in the first part of the last century. And they said, the case of my dad, then, or of that, of anyone else who has been a mathematician in the same sense, which I have been one, is this, that I have added something to knowledge and helped others to add more, and that this something have a value which differs in degree only and not in kind from that of the creations of the great mathematicians or of any other artist, great or small, who have left some kind of memorial behind them. And something that I have here is Winston Churchill said, we make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. And that is my motivation right now. I have a lot of experience, possibilities to help, and that is what I am going to move in this program. Here, to finish, I look forward to honoring what our Chancellor has said. Our top priority to hold the transition will be what is best for our students. Regardless of campus location, we will prepare our students to be successful in the careers that await them. Analytics is one of them. And we will educate them to succeed professionally and personally. Because I didn't touch the concept of ethics. And one of the most important things to keep in mind is that we are the owners of weapons of mass confusion. We can lie, we can hack, and do many things. And that is the problem with analytics as well. And that is something that we need to work very, very strong to be leaders in the workplace and in the community. Thank you very much. It was the message that I wanted to share with you. And now, if you have some questions or suggestions, please tell me.
Now, I have to confess, I have not looked you up on LinkedIn. Yeah, as soon as I get an account, I'm going to do this. But I know you're a very smart man. And I know it because you acknowledged your wife during the presentation. Very smart, very smart. I'm going to give you an opportunity to earn a couple more brownie points at home by introducing her.
Okay. So then come here.
Just tell us her name.
Sopin is her name. The last name is Huang. But in the Chinese culture, when you are familiar, you don't call them with a long name. That means, for me, she's Ping Ping, like ping pong. And she's a nurse educator with all these credentials, but right now is with me every day here. She's studying for getting the certification here in the US, and is a great company and support for everything that we are doing, and excellent with the children that we have. And everything that I am doing is because of her.